The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NBA Big 3 in 30. The three biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NBA Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest stories in the NBA.
Luka Doncic makes his Lakers debut.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast.
This is a really, really fun time for the Lakers with Luka Doncic now officially on the court.
He makes his debut for the Lakers on Monday at the Crypt against the Jazz. Andy, we've been waiting, Andy, for about a week since the Lakers announced this incredibly stunning trade for the actual time when Doncic would make his debut, put on the uniform, get on the floor, get past that calf injury.
Caught up by the Mark Williams trade getting rescinded, you almost forget, oh yeah, Luka Doncic is on this team.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that. Maybe not today, but certainly this week. The news around Mark Williams, the Hornets apparently exploring options, according to Shams at ESPN, to dispute the physical. So that saga is not done yet. But the news, obviously, for tonight,
Dalton Connect's just sitting on the bench in a hoodie. No idea where he's going to be any day from now. This is bizarre.
So the news, though, obviously the big event of the evening in the 132-113 win over the Jazz at the Crypt on Monday is the debut of Luka Doncic. It was a major event, not just across basketball, certainly across LA. Every seat in the arena has a 77 jersey put on it. LeBron put one on before the game. Full house basically there watching him come out for warm-ups beforehand. A palpable energy inside the arena. And when he was introduced last, it should be noted, you got the final introduction. The Lakers fans are clearly excited to see what's coming with this pairing. And just the event of Luka Doncic was everything that the Lakers hoped it would be on the first night.
Well, first of all, you can tell that they are very serious about impressing Luka. They want to make sure that he feels welcome and that this is the franchise he wants to play for the rest of his life, because they spelled Doncic correctly on the back of the shirts that they gave out to the crowd, because as of late, that is not a given for some of the things the Lakers have done, whether you're talking about Kobe's statue, the typos.
It was a little off on those Coop jerseys.
They really dotted the I's and crossed the T's for Luka. This has been building up, like you said, for like a week. And, the Lakers are an international global brand. Luka is an international global superstar. He took questions in 3 different languages after the game tonight: English, Spanish, and Slovenian. And the excitement, you got to go back, honestly, since LeBron arrived.
Oh, for sure.
This, as big of the trade for AD was, you absolutely knew this was coming, because LeBron and Clutch and Anthony Davis had spent the entire season before that very publicly agitating for AD to become a Laker. So it was so fait accompli. But also, too, with all sincere respect to Anthony Davis, who is an incredible player, he's not at the level of Luka. So this is just, Rob Pelinka, I believe, described it as seismic when he was talking about during the introductory press conference for Luka.
Oh, yeah.
That's not an understatement, man.
It isn't.
This is big.
This is a generational trade. This sort of thing in different sports, this level of trade, the magnitude of a trade like this happens once every 15, 20, 25 years, whatever it might be. So, and obviously there is, the level of speculation and curiosity of what it would look like to put LeBron James and Luka Doncic on the floor together, two of the the best passers in the league at any size. And and then when you start to factor in how big these guys are and the vision that they have and the capabilities that these guys have as passers, what would it look like to put the two of them on the floor at the same time? And then throw in a guy like Austin Reeves, who himself is an excellent passer, and suddenly the Lakers have the potential for a level of ball movement that has not been seen. The guys in the pregame show, Worthy and
Byron Scott,
I think, was in studio on Monday, talked about it and I think they're right. It's like having two Magic Johnsons on the floor. Like, that is essentially what the Lakers have. And you saw it quickly in this game. They just the level of ball movement and the quality of the shot creation. I understand they were playing the Utah Jazz, but these are guys who have not really even practiced together, and the Lakers were generating so many good looks, passing up good shots for great shots, sometimes even overpassing to the point. And then there was the thing that I really noticed, Andy, was the ability for between Luka and LeBron to extend all 24 seconds and still generate a good shot, where the Lakers before would get to about 16 and you could start feeling the panic about where is the shot going to come from. That's just not going to be the case. They're going to be able to find a shot through 24 seconds with these guys on the floor.
Right. It doesn't feel like 24 seconds are on the verge of elapsing because you haven't been able to figure out what the hell to do during the possession. It often felt like they were looking for the best possible shot, just whipping the ball around to make sure somebody would either be open or you're creating an open lane from people rotating. Talk about the passing with both Luka and LeBron and the Magic-esque quality that both of them possess as passers, but also physically. In a lot of ways, they are the two closest players to Magic since Magic. There was a play, I don't remember if it was in the second quarter, the third quarter, but Luka, off a defensive rebound, throws a hit ahead to LeBron, streaking down the court, hits him perfectly, easy layup. Those are the type of passes that we typically count on from LeBron. I'm not saying he's never been on the receiving end of one of those as a Laker, but he has certainly not been the recipient as often as he has been the passer. And knowing that is a regular possibility, and B, something that can take advantage of the way LeBron is still a terror in transition. And there were other great passes too. There was an incredible whip pass that Luka had cross court to Dorian Finney-Smith in the corner, which ended up setting up a basket for Rui. But just that type of pass that you're like, holy,
this is where the size
scrambles a defense.
This is where the size aspect of it is so important. It's like, because those guys are so big and they have unnaturally good vision, they're able to go over. We talk about the vertical threat for, and certainly Jackson Hayes, who opened the game with 2 dunks. He's going to shoot.
He opened the third quarter too with a dunk. Dude, Jackson
shoot
Hayes
about 90% for the rest of the year.
Jackson Hayes is loving life.
If he takes more than 5 shots for the rest of the season that are more than 1.5 feet away from the rim, I'll be surprised. But the vertical, is this a term? Vertical passing, the ability to see over a defense and throw the ball over and around and across a defense, because of their size combined with their vision. There really isn't an angle that they're not able to make passes with. And that to me is one of the most stunning aspects of putting both of it's. If Denver had a second guy like Nikola Jokic, it would be the same kind of thing, where there's just so much. It's different to see a guy who's, in LeBron's case, 6'8", Luka's 6'6", make some of these create angles than it is a guy who's 6'2" or 6'3". That's just physics.
Real quick before we go to the break, because you were talking about angles, I wanted just to make sure also, while I remember, to point out a pass Luka made off a drive into the lane, bounce pass, kick out to Rui in the corner. That led to a three. Like, that was another one of those, wait, what did he just do? And we see that all the time from LeBron, to have two guys who can make you rewind a play while you're watching, not just because it was spectacular, but so you could understand what the bleep just went on.
Yep.
That's potentially very fun movie.
I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. Imagine going to the big game this Sunday. That's what a lot of the people around me here on Radio Row are going to do, and the fans who are coming to New Orleans. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have time searching. Inspiration makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and take the work on tickets. Gametime. Download Gametime app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime.
DeAndre Hunter made his debut for the Cavs, and I think he's going to make a big difference on this team.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
The Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Minnesota Timberwolves 128-107 Monday night, and the much anticipated debut of DeAndre Hunter, I thought, went really well for the Cavs. So he was in the starting lineup in his first game, which I don't necessarily think was something that was planned when they acquired him via trade last week, but Max Strus didn't play in this game because of a sore right ankle, so that led to Hunter getting the call. And part of that is because without Strus, obviously Isaac Okoro already out with a shoulder injury. He's not going to play until after the All-Star break. Dean Wade currently out with a knee injury. He's not going to play until after the All-Star break. So there really wasn't another option for the starting small forward spot on Monday night. I think in a perfect world, Max Strus probably starts and the Cavs have a better opportunity to ease DeAndre Hunter into this, but I thought he looked really good. He played physical defense on Anthony Edwards, and he was a big part of the reason why Minnesota struggled so mightily offensively in that first quarter. The Wolves only scored 12 first quarter points. They were, I believe, 2 of 21 from the floor in the first quarter, which I know for sure is the fewest amount of made field goals that an NBA team has had in a single quarter this season. I think it's the worst quarter of offense I've ever covered in my 10 years being around the NBA in any capacity. I cannot remember a single quarter that was as bad offensively as what the Wolves went through in the first quarter on Monday night. And I thought DeAndre Hunter was a big part of that. He defended Anthony Edwards really, really well early on in this game. And Edwards finished going for 44. And we can talk about how and why that happened. And I don't necessarily think that that stuff is a reflection of DeAndre Hunter, not to say that he was perfect by any stretch of the imagination, because he wasn't, but I don't think that it's all a reflection of him. And Hunter, I think, is somebody who's going to be a game changer for the Cavs. And after one game, I don't want to jump to some huge conclusion, but I just kind of think that he was everything that this team was missing. And it's hard for me to say they were missing a lot because, listen, after this win, they're 43-10. They've got the second best record in basketball. They're a half game behind Oklahoma City for the league's best record. So it's not as if they needed a ton of help, right? Like, they were already a really, really good team. But Hunter gives them something they didn't have, and that is a dynamic, athletic wing that can do a lot on both ends of the floor. And Dean Wade is a really good role player for them. He is certainly a 3-and-D wing. But I think that what we saw, even offensively, from Hunter on Monday night is different than what Dean Wade can provide. Like, one of the three-pointers that Hunter hit was on the left wing. It was in the second half, and he pulled up after a couple of dribbles. And just like, that's not the shot that Dean Wade is taking and making. That brings a different element to the Cavs offensively. And Hunter's not tasked with coming in and, really helping this Cavs offense, because the Cavs are already the best offense in basketball. Like, they really don't need help on that end of the floor. They need help on the defensive end of the floor, because they're not an elite defensive team the way that their personnel probably suggests that they should be, where they have some really elite defenders. Now, the perimeter ones, for the most part, have not been able to stay healthy this year, and that's a big reason why I think that they are entering Monday night 8th in the NBA in defense. I can't imagine they moved up. Their defensive rating was like 106 or 105 in this game, and I don't think that's a big enough step forward for them to move up to 7th. But defensively, they looked good for the most part in this game. Like I said, Anthony Edwards had 44 points, and I don't think like it was a dominant 44-point performance. Part of it was the Cavs decided that once the first quarter happened the way that it did, where they built a big lead, they were dominant defensively. As I mentioned, the Wolves only had 2 total made field goals in the first quarter, which is something I've never seen before. And part of it was poor shot making from Minnesota. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, the Cavs are the best defense in the league now because of this, but the Cavs were really good. I thought they were really physical too, and I thought that was a big reason why Minnesota struggled to get things going, to find a rhythm. Anthony Edwards, I think, missed his first 6 or 7 shots, which probably makes the fact that he did go for 44 points all the more aggressive. And I do think that DeAndre Hunter may have been a little amped up too. He finished with 5 fouls. He only played 23 minutes because he was in foul trouble. So it does make you wonder, okay, well, what's it going to look like in a full game when he actually gets to play a full starter's allotment of minutes? I think it's going to look really good. I think that he is a guy that he raises this team's ceiling. Like I thought that before this trade and their record, their net rating, like everything this team has done points to them being a true championship contender this season. Everything that they've done. Does that mean they're going to win the title? Of course that doesn't mean that. It means they're capable of it. Now, having to go through Boston is not going to be easy. It's still not going to be easy with DeAndre Hunter, but I think it makes it more palatable for them. I think that matchup becomes a little bit better. I'm not even saying that they would be favored in that matchup with DeAndre Hunter, but I think that they are better suited to handle that. And I don't think that DeAndre Hunter got cooked by Anthony Edwards in this game. I thought the Cavs decided, hey, we're going to try and play zone. We're going to play a box and one. We're going to try a bunch of these different defensive coverages, which I do think is a tough thing to do. And DeAndre Hunter, of course, was not on the floor for all of this because, as I mentioned, he only played 22 minutes in this game because of the foul trouble. But that is also one of the things Donovan Mitchell mentioned after the game is part of the reason why the Cavs are 8th in defense is because they're not playing just one coverage. And Kenny Atkinson talked about that. I don't remember if it was before or after the game, but before he got here, like this was a team that kind of did what they did defensively, and that was it. They didn't mix in a ton of zone. They didn't mix in a ton of other coverages. They were really good at what they did over the past several years with JB Bickerstaff, but they didn't really have an extensive defensive playbook. And now their defensive playbook is pretty expansive. It has a lot of stuff in it. So that means that because they're mixing and matching those things that, they're not great at all of those things. And that has led to some defensive slippage. I do think that Hunter came out in this game pretty amped up. And he got a great ovation from the fans as he was introduced as part of the starting 5. He got a pretty big cheer from the fans, which I thought was to be expected. And I thought that especially in that first shift, he looked like someone that was very, very aggressive defensively. He was really physical, and that's why he was in foul trouble. Like the fouls that he got called for the most part, were not cheapies. There was the one on Anthony Edwards where Edwards kind of got him on his hip, and I don't necessarily know that was a really great foul call, but there were some other ones where Hunter was certainly physical, and I understood why the whistle was blown, but that's going to be the type of defender that he's going to be. And because of that, I think this Cavs team is going to go to another level. And there are some lineups that I'm going to talk about coming up a little bit later on in the show that Kenny Atkinson mentioned as being able to break out if and when this team does get fully healthy, that should be downright terrifying defensively for any team to have to deal with. And the other aspect of this is the offense. And as I mentioned, DeAndre Hunter is not tasked with coming in here necessarily making the offense better because this offense is already so great, but he is going to provide another legitimate option for them. I don't think that he's going to be able to create as much for others as Karis LeVert was able to. Like that is a very underrated part of Karis LeVert's game was he was a terrific passer over these past couple of seasons in Cleveland. And DeAndre Hunter is not going to be that, but I also do think that he's going to be able to just do things as a bigger body that the Cavs have been missing in terms of being able to create for himself. The creation for others, again, not really going to be there, but he's going to be able to can take some tough shots. And the three-pointer on the left wing that he hit in the second half, like that's just not something that really was part of the Cavs offensive playbook. And I don't think that's something that, like, if that's what they're relying on, it's probably not a great thing. But being able to use that in a pinch is, I think, a pretty good sign for the Cavs offensively. And then the one other thing defensively, just because there will be some lineups, and he spent a lot of time on the floor with Evan Mobley on Monday night. There were times where he was defending Anthony Edwards in the first quarter, and Evan Mobley was on Rudy Gobert. And the Wolves, of course, want to run a pick and roll with Edwards and Gobert, trying to get those guys in the action because, of course, that's what Minnesota does. Gobert is one of the best screeners in the NBA, and they're going to use him as such. Well, imagine if you're a team and you want to attack a big guy, and typically we don't see small pick and rolls, right? Like, that's not a common thing in today's NBA. So you're going to see like these wing big pick and rolls, and even some wing small pick and rolls, or some small big pick and rolls that DeAndre Hunter is going to be involved in, and it's going to be him and Evan Mobley defending pick and roll. Like, that is good luck. I mean, I don't know. I know that there's no perfect coverage for the pick and roll, which is why it has been such an effective play in the history of the NBA. But man, trying to score on those two, I think, is going to be a really tall task for a lot of opponents. I think that DeAndre Hunter already has made the Cavs better, and I think that is something that's going to continue as he gets more and more comfortable. And I do think the other thing too that's worth mentioning here is this acquisition comes at a really good time because he gets to play 2 games, and then he's going to have some practice time. He's going to have some time to really dive in during the All-Star break, to dive into what the Cavs do. And he's going to be able to get up to speed, and he's not going to be on the floor during that time because the Cavs will be off from their game Wednesday until next Wednesday without practices or anything like that. But that can be time for him to get those mental reps, to really dive in and really get his life in order too, because moving to a new city, not the easiest thing to do.
When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, I never feel like I miss my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. I'm looking tonight at Grizzlies Suns. The Grizzlies favored on the road amid all the trade drama in Phoenix, but they're laying just 2 points. Yes, thank you very much. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
What are the Hornets getting in newly acquired center Mark Williams? Does Doug quit the show? Does he put on the big Mark Williams hat?
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast.
I joked about this with you multiple times. I joked about this with Colin. I joked about this with lots of people, that there was a possibility that this trade could not go through because of a failed physical. That if you are a Panthers fan, you might understand it via the Bashad Breeland situation. Look it up, kids. You'll see the similarities. And yet we still did the reaction pods. We did everything. We had the farewell message. It was all over. Mark was going to LA. Dalton Connect was in the building, by the way. He was at Spectrum Center. He set foot down in the Queen City. Cam Reddish, who knows what was happening with Cam Reddish? He's just floating about in the ether of all of it. But now the trade is being rescinded as we see the Lakers on Saturday night say that their trade was going to be rescinded, with sources telling Shams that Mark Williams failed LA's physical exam, and that physical showed multiple issues, but it was not due to a failed back, however. And that was one injury lots of people were worried about. The big man, the back issues that held him out for quite a while. It wasn't the back, but it was a couple of other issues, apparently, that LA found in the physical. Let's stop here, and then let's serve it over to the net to you. How you feeling, my man Dougie B?
I might serve it right back to you because I did 45 minutes of live content that you can go check out on. You can go check it out on the YouTube feed. I don't know if I ever migrated it over the audio feed. Sorry for the the listeners out there. There was a lot going on Sunday. But so I want to serve it back to you. Here's the biggest question that I'm getting across the board, from subtext to Substack to this podcast to the comments that I got on the Sunday show. Do you think this is a case of Lakers shenanigans? And what I mean by that is, was this the Lakers getting a day or so fan reaction, league reaction within their own organization to the trade and what they gave up, a first-round pick, unprotected, for a player that has not played a lot of games over relative to the amount of years he's been in the league, and the injury history? They look at that and they say, oh, man, you know what? I don't know about this trade anymore. And so they do the physical, and they just find something. You can always find something. Do you think this was a case of Lakers shenanigans?
I don't think that, but I can understand why people think that, because we don't have any clarity on the injuries as to why they have a problem with the physical. If it's not the back and they have enough information to tell us what it's not, but they aren't telling us what it is, that's misleading. That's frustrating. Okay, it's not the back. Okay, well, what is it? There's some other issues in there. So I can understand why that question would come about. But you were asking this because of the fan reaction. You have a couple days to settle down. The fans don't like it. Maybe members within the team that carry some weight in that organization don't like it. I don't know about the latter. What I do know, and that what we talked about, Doug, was the fan reaction was positive for the Lakers. They don't necessarily care too much about the Hornets fan reaction, but from everything that I saw from the analytics nerds, from just good old-fashioned Lakers fans that have been there since the Showtime Lakers days, that have been here since Kobe Shaq, that have been here since Kobe Powell. Like, those are the fans that really seem to like this trade and were willing to pay the price, give that unprotected first up, give Dalton Connect up to go get their center of the future. Luka, LeBron, Mark, oh my God, they're going to create sweet music with one another out there on the court. That's what it felt like to me. Like, I know there are some analysts that didn't love it from the Lakers' perspective. Sam Vecini comes to mind. I know Nate Duncan also had some criticisms, but I think every trade is going to have some criticisms, and you do have to give up a lot to get something of value. That's how it goes. So if you're asking because of the fan reaction, do I think that the Lakers are up to some shenanigans? I do not. I think the Lakers, if they truly did go through a physical, okay, they found something that they did not like, and they're giving up a lot to go get this player, they're well within their right to say, hey, this looks off. I don't think Mark is going to be right in 3 years, in 5 years, whatever. So this trade is no more. Thus is the risk when you start to move guys right before the trade deadline, when you turn your homework in right at the moment, right at the buzzer. Well, hey, man, you forgot to answer these last couple questions. Sorry, you're going to get docked those points. So now you're getting Mark Williams back. These are the problems with how it all went down. I don't necessarily think that we can blame the Lakers here. That's where I stand, as we can go back and forth. But those are my thoughts on the Lakers shenanigans part of it.
Yeah, I don't think the Hornets or the Lakers did anything wrong as it relates to like something being NBA illegal, because if that were the case, I think we would have already gotten reporting. You would have had one team go to the league and say, hey, this other team was up to no good. Check it out. The fact that the Hornets immediately released something welcoming Mark Williams back and saying he's a starter and all of this stuff, to me says they're upset with the Lakers for going back on the trade, but there was nothing wrong.
So with the other team, what was it? The Lakers they were talking about?
I'm sorry. Yes, the other team.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
So they're certainly upset, but you're right. The Lakers have the right to do this, and this is what I've been telling folks in the Sicko Brigade. I would want the Hornets to have that same right. One day the Hornets will trade their first round picks for players, and I want those players run through the gamut of physicals to make sure that the Hornets don't have another injury situation. Had they made the move for Mikal Bridges, I understand that Mikal has never been injured in his entire career. I still want him run through all of the physicals that they can do all your homework, because you are investing. In that case, it would have been 5 first-round picks. It doesn't matter if it's 1 or 5. You've got to do the homework. That's what good organizations do. That's what the Lakers did in this case. A lot of people are hanging on to this quote that was not the full quote.
That's right. Yes.
The Lakers looking into the medicals. The medicals are just like documented medical reports on injuries that he's already had. They looked at those and said, well, he hasn't had any surgery. Doctors say these things are good. But the rest of the quote is Rob Pelinka saying, yeah, but we got to still do our deep dive physical. And
I
that's
have
what they
the quote
did.
here. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I have the quote. He said, yeah, we vetted the injuries he's had. We're not concerned about those. We will have a chance to have a physical. Or he said, we're not concerned about those. And then Twitter cut it off. Whoa, what's going on here? But really, when you keep reading, we will have a chance to have a physical and continue to do a deep dive and make sure that what we've talked about and seen in the parentheses electronic medical records, that all lines up. So we'll have that step in the process of doing a full physical before the trade becomes official.
I wish that the Lakers were up to shenanigans. Let me just say that, because we're sitting here, we're doing a lot of defense. We're defending the Hornets and the Lakers in this situation.
Yeah. Don't think the Hornets did anything wrong. Yeah.
No, but the truth of the matter is that you have a player in Mark Williams that his body doesn't look right. We've been talking about that for weeks on this show, that there's something going on when you look at how he's playing now versus how he played in the first season or so that we saw him in action. He looks different. There's something going on. And so if it's not the back or the foot, yeah, you now have some questions about what is that. It doesn't mean that his career is over by any stretch of the imagination. You have this example of Tyson Chandler, who failed a physical because of a toe issue that he didn't even know was an issue, and he doesn't get traded to Oklahoma City to play for that championship contender. Instead, he gets traded to the Bobcats, who then trade him to the Mavericks, and he goes on to be, I think, Defensive Player of the Year. He won a championship with the Mavericks. So, Mark's career is not over, but there's obviously something going on, and I don't know if we're going to find out exactly what it is, but the Hornets have a situation on their hands.
So you bring up the point of if they were to trade their first-round pick for something of risk but very high reward, if it all works out, we can just go to the trade proposal we've talked about for quite some time. If they were to so go after Zion Williamson and it was a high-risk, high-reward type of feature, then I would tell you I want to go through every single thing possible on that physical to make sure that they're getting what they're hoping for, with 2 first-rounders, 3 first-rounders going out of the door. But the other thing is, you're right, Doug, it would be tough for Hornets fans to say that the Lakers are up to all of these shenanigans, that they are trying to pull a fast one on the Hornets because of buyer's remorse.
Good. Oh, you didn't think I had that? You didn't think I had that one in the bag, did you?
No, it was a trigger. It was a reaction. It was firing something off deep within your brain, and you needed to share that. But I am glad you did, and that's not even kind of joking. I really am glad you shared that.
Well, that's what we've had two genuine laughs on this show. I'll just pull back the curtain a little bit. Sometimes when you're doing an entertaining show, someone says something. Maybe you don't hear it quite as well, or maybe it's not it doesn't make you gutturally laugh, but you have to support your teammate, and so you give the laugh. Sometimes you want to call that a fake laugh, you want to call that whatever, an over-exaggerated laugh. That's fine. I think we've had 2 genuine chuckles on this show today.
Yeah, I wish you wouldn't have let that. That's when I didn't want you to let out of the bag, to be honest with you. I wanted people to live in their ignorant bliss. These guys laugh at each other's jokes all the time. They secretly hate each other. My point being, it would be tough. It would be tough to point to the Lakers and say, hey, funny business going on, when we've talked about his body looking injury-ridden the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I don't have any of the information because of the physicals or stemming from the physical, right? All I know is that he did look like an issue. His body looked to be more of an issue the last few weeks of struggling mightily out there on the court than it had before the injuries. There's just no doubt. When Lakers fans were so happy about what they were getting in Mark, a lot of those highlights that they were showing in that package, they came from his rookie season, and they came from the 15, 20 games that he played before he got injured. But Mark was a problem.
So close. They were so close.